what I want to show you, this is the most important to me of all the videos. This is going to be the most informative. I'm going to go from this raid here and find somebody who's not performing well, and then do my analysis on them as I would for anybody else. And I really like this because I don't know anything about hunters. I have never played hunter. I have never used a hunter. I made a bank alt one time that was a hunter, and I didn't really like it, so I made it a rogue instead. Uh, I cannot overstate how little I know about hunters, but I'm going to be able to use all these tools that we talked about to find out what he's doing wrong and why he's not performing. So this is the meat of it. Find this guy and say, we're going to compare him with all the basic parameters, 10 seconds plus or minus, item level plus or minus 2, same raid size, recent raid, and we search. And again, this guy didn't have Death's Choice. It's not a very high priority item on hunters, so you're not going to see as many with it. So I don't want to pick one to compare him to that has this really high value trinket that he's unlikely to get. It's not as fair of a comparison. It's not as relevant as a comparison. But wouldn't you know it, the number one parse for these parameters doesn't have that. It has Dark Matter, which is purchasable with essences, and Dark Makar Greatness, which is purchasable with gold. So this is a perfect log to compare it to. Again, the number one will be a bit better, but I'm again going to go in. I've committed to not having any idea what hunters do. The first thing I'm going to look at is the summary tab. Again, the guy that we're looking at, he parsed a green in a raid where we got a bunch of 99s, a bunch of 85s and 90s. That's a very poor performance. So he may be doing something wrong, maybe doing something poorly. We'll find out. The first thing that we look at again is the talents. You see 6, 14, 51 to 18, 51. I don't know what any of these three things are. I know that there's marksmanship, survival, and beast mastery. No clue which one's which. No clue what talents these would be. I just know that 6 and 14 are different than 2 and 18. Something's different on this guy who's doing better compared to this guy. I would, if I were a hunter, figure out what those four talents are. It's likely just a separate talent spec that's a standard one. If you're a hunter, you may know what it is. On this fight, the guy who's doing well thinks it's this. If you go look through some of the top logs, if you constrain it by eye level and look in the search, you can probably pull up a bunch of others that are doing top damage for hunters, and I would bet money that they're all running this spec, not this spec. The next thing is we're going to look at the just raw stat value. So this guy here, 2609 agility. This guy, 2880. So that's 270 agility more. That's more than 10% more agility than this guy at critically the same eye level, overall eye level. They have roughly equivalent gear. This guy's got more than 10% more of the primary stat. That's an issue usually with gearing, and usually with your valuing of certain either socket bonuses or types of gear or whatever. Then we look now, stamina, who cares? Obviously the strength and spirit doesn't matter. Crit, this guy's got the lower parse has got 950. This guy's got 900. He doesn't value crit anymore than this guy. But and again, lower crit, lower haste, but higher agility. So he's sacrificing some crit, some haste for more of this raw agility. His hit is also 283. His hit is 266. No idea what hunters are supposed to have for hit. If you go look at other top logs and they're around 283, guess what? That's the number that you want to be aiming for, not this number. Then we're just going to breeze through some of the items, right? 245 head, the same piece. He's got his Relentless Earth Siege and Deadly Ametrine. Relentless Earth Siege and a Deadly Ametrine. So gemmed, same head, same everything, same head enchant. So looks good. Then a 239 neck versus a 245 neck. They're both comparable. 245 shoulder, 245 shoulder, same thing, same gem, same everything. 245 chest, 245 chest. I believe this is a tier chest. This is not a tier chest. This belt, a 232 belt versus a 258 belt. He's got an advantage there on this side, but then 245 legs versus 252 legs. The advantage goes to this guy. They're wearing the same boots. These are different bracers. Same hands, similar rings. Basically, they both have greatness. This guy's got dark matter. This guy's got Mjolnir. I don't know anything about hunters. They seem to me to be relatively equivalent trinkets on most, physical damage classes. So I have to assume that they're similar here. You can look at the Wowhead article and see if they say, oh, dark matter is the best trinket, you gotta have it. Mjolnir Runestone sucks, never use it, you're an idiot if you do. I have no idea. If it doesn't say that, if they're roughly equivalent, they're both acquirable in the same way. So you can get this if you don't have it. This guy's got the 258 cloak, same 258 cloak. They're different cloaks, but you get what you can get. Hellion Glaive, Skyforge crossbow, Vezix autocannon. So we have similar gear here, but this is where we have a big difference, is the gems, right? This guy's got blue gems. He's got scarlet rubies in a bunch of slots. That's 16 agility versus 20 agility. So he's giving up 4 here, 4 here, 4 here, 4 here, 4 here. So he's starting off giving up 20 agility just with the wrong gems. And then this guy, with all his epic gems, plus he's got jewel crafting as a profession. So now he's not only gaining that extra agility through gemming with the correct gems, he's gaining even more. So he's gaining 14, 14, 14. So he's gaining a ton of agility based on this profession. If you look through some of these, they both have Flex underway on their cloaks, so they both have engineering. We know that this is engineering and jewel crafting because we can see them. We don't know what this guy's other profession is. Obviously, it's not using the correct gems, though. So this makes a big difference. If you really want to look through something like this and say, okay, well, I could actually get better stat breakdowns with better choices. The next bit is just the damage curve. We're going to look at the curve and say the purple guy did better, the teal guy did worse. Why did the purple guy do better? Why did the teal guy do worse? Well, we can see they both are kind of performing relatively similarly. The purple guy ramps up a little harder, a little higher, and then they're both relatively even. And then all of a sudden, blue guy just drops off a cliff, while this person is still just chugging along, doing damage. Then they kind of meet back up. They perform very similarly. This is a little quicker ramp here, a little higher peak over there. Again, quicker ramp. Then they are similar. Purple guy spikes like a madman here on an Ice Owl crash. This guy, not so much. This is a huge, huge, huge portion of the damage. Again, this is the number 1 eye level parse. This purple guy, this is a green parse in a high parsing raid, which means he's doing even worse than his parse would indicate. If you just fixed this and this, that would get you 90% of the way to here. I'm going to go through all of it because we're going to learn a lot about how to compare these things. But if you really just want to do the basics, this and this fixes a ton. So as the main priority, we'll look at those first. But in this tab, we're going to be able to see what everybody did. So the overall damage, right? This guy's casting 39 instances of explosive shot. This guy's casting 51. Fight length is almost the same. Clearly, you can cast 51 explosive shots, and explosive shots, your number 1 damage ability. You should be casting more. Whatever it is that you're doing that's not letting you cast this, do this instead. Auto shot, 80 casts, 113 casts. Do more auto shot. I don't know what auto shot is, how you do it. This guy's got to be doing more of it. Explosive Trap is his next highest ability. He's got 9 hits of it. Explosive Trap is this guy's next highest ability. He's got 6 hits of it. You can clearly weave in a few more explosive traps. You also want to see what you're hitting with these, and this is not letting me do that. It doesn't want to show me on some of these, but you can look in and see in the damage done tab for each individual person who they're doing the damage to, so you can see who he's hitting: Ice Howl, Gormok, Asimov, Dreadscale. If you're seeing somebody who's attacking a mob that you aren't attacking, or that's not attacking a mob that you are attacking, then you should prioritize your targets differently. The next bit is for this guy, his pet. His pet melee is doing almost 1100 DPS over the course of the fight, and then we go find this guy's pet. We're over here doing 411. This guy's pet is attacking 304 times. This guy's pet is attacking 124 times. Either his pet died or he's not having it go and attack. That's bad. This is a pet class. You have to use your pet right. If you have trouble keeping it alive, there are ways to do it, clearly, because this guy's keeping his pet alive. If it's just a matter of not using your pet, there are ways to do that. It's called your keyboard. Make your pet do things for you. Then we go through, he's using Serpent Sting 16 times versus 14 times. He's using Steady Shot 48 times versus 31 times. So Steady Shot for him is one of the lower contributory skills compared to this guy, but he's still doing more damage with it. He's still using it more times. Kill Shot, his is 8 versus 8. They're both using the same number of kill shots. I don't know what Kill Shot does. It doesn't seem to be that useful. Only 20% less health, so this is an executability, obviously. So they're both using that ability in the execute range. You can use it about 8 times. Then Aimed Shot. This guy's using Aimed Shot 14 times. This guy is using Aimed Shot none? No times. I don't know what Aimed Shot does. You should use it 14 times-ish. You can go through and look. I'm not going to bother with figuring this out on the fly because it would take too long. It'd be too boring. Clearly, he's using Aimed Shot. He's not. You should be using Aimed Shot. Multi-Shot, he's using it 7 times. He's using it 14 times. Here we go. Here's some wasted globals, right? This is a very, very heavily deprioritized ability. He's only using it on Snowbold, Vassal, Gormok, and Dreadscale. Or he's only doing damage to those people. I can go and look at his targets. It's very likely that this is the kind of ability that cleaves off of the Snowbolds, but not onto the Snowbold, so you have to use this on the Snowbold to cleave onto Gormok, as opposed to vice versa. This guy is using it on just about everything. His damage on Gormok is higher than damage on Snowbolts. God knows, he might be hitting the wrong target with it sometimes. But he's prioritizing it higher than this guy is, and this guy's doing much more damage. We trust this guy's priorities over that guy's. His melee weaving, his individual melee weaving, 106 versus 88. So you can be melee weaving a little bit more. This just looks like generally overall activity is low. He's using Black Arrow 1 time. He's using Black Arrow 1 time. God only knows what this thing does. Deadly Poison gets 11 hits off of it, 9 hits off of the 2. 3.4 DPS, 2.7, don't really care. So just through this breakdown, I, again, don't know anything about this class. I can see that he's using his abilities more, he's prioritizing his abilities differently, and he's doing a hell of a lot more damage because of it. So what I want to do is really focus in on the portions of the fight where this guy is doing better than the other guy by a significant margin, right? So we're going to select this giant gap and see what is specifically happening in here. So again, we see the same breakdown. 14 explosive shots versus 5. You gotta use your abilities, guy. He's prioritizing auto shot higher in this portion. He's got 27 versus 11, and it's doing much more damage than his explosive trap. He's got 2 hits off of that. This guy's getting 2 hits also, but it is, I guess, cleaving. So I'm sure this guy would love for this to be cleaving more, although he's doing more damage with it. So what he's actually doing is getting in all these other abilities above that. So his auto shot is the second doing 2480. This guy's is the third doing 750. This guy's Serpent Sting, 7 uses, 1400 damage, 3 uses, 558 damage. Just on down the line, you can see that he's using his abilities more. He's doing more with it. His pet is attacking. So I just want to see what the pet damage looks like. Is there any pet damage? This guy's pet is not doing damage at all. That to me means the pet's probably dead. And I can find that through this resources tab. And I can say hit points. And I can find the hit points for this guy's pet. Hit. There, and wolf. This is his wolf here. So his wolf is dead at about 39 seconds. He revives it here, dies again. This guy's wolf is alive the whole fight. You got to keep your pet alive if you're a pet class. We're going to bring this guy back here. So when we look at that section, we see he's using those things differently. He's being more active. And in a section like this, for example, where they're performing relatively similarly, right? 8200 versus 8700. This guy's still doing better. Casting explosive shot at the same rate. This guy's still prioritizing auto shot higher. This guy is getting fewer attacks with his pet. It's possible that we're seeing a different little portion of the fight. He's got 1 hit of explosive trap. He's got 1 hit of explosive trap. This guy's using steady shot and aim shot. This guy's using multi-shot 3 times. I don't know what you need multi-shot for in this. This is Ice Howl. You know, there's only one guy, and multi seems to me that it would be hitting more than one guy. So I don't know why you'd be wasting anything on using this AoE ability. Clearly, you want to prioritize the more single target abilities. Generally, they're performing similarly. Then when I look at this burn phase here, right? This is burn phase in Lust. This guy's casting 5 explosive shots. He's getting 6. But he casts 2, I'm sorry, and he hits 6. So he's casting 5, he's casting 2. His explosive shots are doing a hell of a lot more damage. His average hit on explosive shot, right? 11.4 versus 6.2. I have a feeling that the buffs tab is going to tell us about why that's happening, because he's casting more, but he's doing a ton more damage. And this is this is why those burn phases are critical. This is where you learn to get your damage up if you're doing other things relatively well. But it's, here, roughly the same breakdown. He is using more auto shots. This guy's getting 12. You're getting 4 off. You can do more. Prioritize this higher. It's a major contributor to your DPS. Steady shot, Serpent Sting, those are all being used. Again, he's still using multi-shot. There's one guy. Don't use this. I don't know anything about hunters. This guy's not using it. This guy's using it. He's the top eye level parse. He parsed green. This is wrong. I don't know anything about hunters. I know that this is wrong. Here I can just see you need to be more active. You need to keep your pet alive. You need to be prioritizing auto shot higher and a couple of other things. But that's only part of the story. Another big part of the story is in the buffs tab, and this is going to tell us everything that every one of them did. We're going to go through a lot of it. This guy on the left, he needed an innervate. This guy on the right did not need an innervate. He's using more resources while being bad. This guy's using fewer resources while being good. We like this guy. We don't like this guy. They're both using their Orc Racial at looks like the correct times, the same times, and probably the correct times. And again, major individual cooldowns, right? So this is the other thing. He's using this Call of the Wild and Rapid Fire. He's using Call of the Wild and Rapid Fire too. They're both using it one time, so I'm assuming these are long cooldowns. Yep, 5 minutes. He's using them at the beginning of the fight. It's a 5-minute cooldown. The fight doesn't last 5 minutes. You know it doesn't last 5 minutes. You know your raid kills it faster in 5 minutes. You're not going to get another one. You need to use it at the right time. What does this do? Gives you and your pet increased attack power by 10%. This is ranged attack speed by 40% for 15 seconds. And this is 20 seconds of buff. These are massive. And again, 5-minute cooldowns. Like, they're meant to be used one time per fight. They're huge. You have to use them at the right time. He's using them on the rip. This guy's using them over here. And what do we remember is over here? This is the part of the fight where you're doing a burn. And if you are using these abilities in that burn, your curve is going to look like that. And if you don't use them, if you waste them at the wrong time, it's going to look like that. And I'm going to just one more time, look at this difference in damage done. 19,600, 8,700. So this guy's doing 11,000 more DPS for 24 seconds of the fight. That's enormous difference. You're always going to do bad if that's what you're pulling here. So then just some of these other things for the buffs, right? If I look down, this guy's got the Rage Flask, Might, Leader of the Pack. He's got his Well-Fed, Agility, Food. Let's see what this guy's food is. He's got his Feast. So this guy says, I want Agility food. This guy says, give me the fish. Clearly the Agility food is superior. I don't need to know anything about Hunters to know that the guy who's got the #1 eye level parse in this high eye level, moderately high eye level range is doing the correct thing. Leader of the Pack, it's not him. Demonic Pack, good job. And again, this guy is doing much more like Pack is doing by keeping it up consistently. This guy is dropping it a bunch. Don't like that. This next thing, right? Sniper training. I don't know what this is. This has got to be a Hunter ability. He's got it up for 94% of the fight. This guy's got it up for 82% of the fight. So he's missing 12 raw percentage points of uptime on this ability, and it is crit chance on kill shot. And while standing still for 6 seconds, your damage done by steady shot, aim shot, black arrow, and explosive shot are increased by 6% for 15 seconds. So if you stand still for 6 seconds, you get it up for 15. So every 9 seconds, you gotta stop and stand still for 6 seconds to refresh this buff. This guy's doing a better job of it. And again, 6% on steady shot, aimed shot, explosive shot. I don't know much about Hunters. I remember those as being some of the top contributing DPS abilities in this guy's rotation. So keeping this up more is much better. He's doing a worse job of it. It's showing in the final results. I don't know what this is. Got to be Hunter. Expose weakness. Your ranged crits have a chance to expose weakness. Expose weakness increase your attack power, blah, blah, blah. They weren't really gemming or highly prioritizing crit. But this guy's, again, 89% versus 75%. So he's got a much higher uptime and a much more consistent uptime. I don't know anything about this. I'll say that 100 more times. But unless it's just the godliest RNG, there's probably a way to smooth this out and make it more consistent versus it being straight up random like this guy's it looks like, because he's able to smooth it out and keep it on the portions of the fight where he wants it to. So the next ability, Calling the Herd, obviously it's a Hunter ability. Claw, Bite, Smack, deals a crit. Your pet and you gain increased damage. So if your pet is out and doing stuff, you're going to get increased damage for 10 seconds from this. And his is up 62% of the time. His is up 27% of the time. Terrible, right? That's a big difference, and it's largely because this section, his pet was dead. Furious Howl, 40-second cooldown, increases melee and range attack power for the wolf and its master. We like attack power. We like wolves. We like masters. This guy's using it 7 times. It's a 40-second cooldown. It is very consistent every single time he uses it. It's probably macroed into something, and he's using it on cooldown. This guy's using it 5 times. He's probably also got it macroed in because it's about the same separation. But again, here, where his pet's dead, he's missing out on 20 seconds of 320 attack power for yourself and also for your dead pet. So you can't use it if your pet's dead, apparently, and his pet's dead. Keep the pet alive. It's very important. Master Tactician, Hunter. Your successful ranged attacks have a chance to increase your crit with all attacks. This is an instant. It doesn't say what the cooldown is. I have no concept of how this ability works. He's using it 20 times for a 45% uptime. He's using it 20 times for a 37% uptime. I don't know how this is used. All I would say is if it's an instant and you can use it, you see how much more consistently it's spread out over the course of the fight versus this guy kind of like, oh, I got a bunch of it here, a couple here, a couple here. If you're talking about increasing your crit chance by 10%, and we remember that this is the one, your ranged crits give you an exposed weakness, your attack power goes up by 25% of your agility for 7 seconds. So we like agility a lot. We heavily prioritize agility. This is why. This is how you make this smoother. Again, clearly this is being done well. If it's not RNG, it's something else, and that something else is this. So if you're a hunter and you see that your exposed weakness is spotty like this, and that your Master Tactician is spotty like this as opposed to more consistently used, this guy's clearly trying to refresh this exposed weakness using Master Tactician and keep that up as much as possible. That's how you do a lot of damage with this class. Quick shots. This is while aspect is active, you have a chance of increasing your ranged attack speed, 14 versus 12. I don't think that there's much that you can do differently there. This is a trinket. This is another trinket. They're both internal cooldowns. They just proc. Hyperspeed accelerators. He's got 4 uses of hyperspeed accelerators. This guy has got them 2. He's got 3 uses. He's using it here and here. And then he's using it for the Ice Howl phase. That's when you want to use it. But this guy was able to use his first 2 earlier so that he has enough space to put in a third one and still have his 4th one up for Ice Howl. This guy's missing hyperspeed right here, and it's the right call to not use it. If you're going to use it here and not be able to use it here, that's the wrong decision. You only get one more. You might as well use it where it's going to be valuable. But if you're able to time this and get this one in at the correct time so that you have that 4th one available, like that, again, that's 340 haste for 12 seconds. It's significant. They're both using their racials. They're both using Call of the Wild, but he's using it in the wrong spot. Rapid Fire too. I don't know what lock and load is. This guy is doing it 16%. This guy's doing it 6.7%. When you trap a target and periodic damage with your blah blah blah. So if your traps do damage, then you get 2 explosive shots for no cooldown, and they cost no mana and consume no ammo. So he's trap weaving better. Obviously, he's got 7 instances of lock and load versus 5. That seems somewhat insignificant, but it's there. And then we look at just some of these other things like kill command. They're both using kill command. When you get down this far, it's probably not as big of a deal. Minute cooldown. This is a 5-minute fight. He's using it 5 times. This is a minute cooldown. His thing is dead. Actually, he's using it while his pet is dead, which is kind of funny. Yeah, so he could be using this more. God knows how much that's contributing. I could look. It's not really worth it. He's using Potion of Speed. He is using Potion of Nothing. Okay, here we go. So this guy's got Mixology. He is a alchemist. So he's getting bonus attack power from the flasks, but as we've seen, the raw agility is worth more than the flat attack power anyway. So if this guy's second profession is getting him flat attack power, this guy's is jewel crafting, giving him raw agility. Agility wins. But use your potions. Don't misusing your potions. He's got speed during this Ice Howl phase. He doesn't. And then we get down a little farther, and I see this before I stop is this guy's got stances, forms, and seals. And this guy doesn't, which means he's just in the same stance the whole time. This guy's doing a little bit of stance dancing. Obviously, this is the one that you're in most of the fight. I don't really care what it does. I'm not interested in learning it. This guy is swapping into aspect of the Viper, which is the mana regen aspect, and so he is tagging enemies with aspect of the Viper, getting some more mana regen at key parts of the fight. He's also swapping into aspect of the Cheetah, which is basically the personal of the pack. He is using it at these two spots, and if you were to go into this guy's logs, these are clearly a way to position into something so that he can probably maintain his sniper training or whatever, get somewhere faster where he's not going to get dazed, and then he swaps back an aspect of the Dragonhawk. If you forget, obviously, if you try and stance dance and you forget and you get stuck, it's better to not do it. But clearly this guy, who didn't have to get an innervate, is finding a way to get more out of his kit than this guy is. So that's kind of like a really deep, detailed log review of a bad log versus a good log for, again, a class that I have no concept of. I can go through the casts, the timeline, all that stuff, and really dig into individual things that one of them is doing that the other one's not. It's not really worth it here, but that's what you can do with your logs. You can say, okay, well, I'm doing about as much damage as they're doing here. I might be doing about the same thing that they're doing, but here I'm not. What am I doing here wrong? And this is, his pet's dying and he's just, I don't know, falling asleep or whatever. But here they're active, they're doing about the same thing. But look at that versus that. If you just fixed this and this didn't happen, your curves can look like the number one eye level parse with two sections of fixing. So that's how I would approach, again, a class that I have no concept of. I've already forgotten everything about the hunter, but I could go to this person's logs and tell them, here's what you need to be doing, here's what you need to be doing differently, and they say, oh, I can't explosive shot, it's too hard, or there's just no space for it. This guy's doing it. There's a way to do it. It's there somewhere. You can dig and dig and dig and find it, or it's just staring right in front of you and say, well, are you not using your abilities? What are you using globals on? And this is where the cast timeline helps, is what am I using globals on versus what's this guy using globals on at every second of every portion of the fight. Obviously, if you're doing nothing, that's not good. And maybe that's like a disconnect or something like that. But you can really look through and see why is one rotation different than another one, that kind of thing.